Hey,
Hey,
AD!
Sonal. How are
How
you?
are you? I'm so excited to have you here.
Me too. That's a real bonus.
Thank you, AD. Thank you so much for joining us. I wasn't going to introduce you before I had you on there, but allow me a minute to quickly introduce you.
Sure.
So, guys, AD Singh needs no introduction. He is truly the pioneer of the restaurant business in India, with several firsts to his credit, such amazing restaurants that he's opened. We know of him more for his flagship Olive restaurant, chain of Olive restaurants. And Olive, I'm sure you'll all agree with me, is the first true blue, first standalone restaurant of this country, which has done so well, and it's really, it's been a hallmark for us, isn't it? So, and I still love going to Olive's for my meals. So, it's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you, Sonal. My pleasure. I think you and me, of course, I'm much older than you, but we've seen how the industry has changed and grown. I think it's
Yes,
great for us that we have a master of wine as well, like yourself. That's
thank you.
fabulous. And it's great to see how the wine industry has grown. When we started off, I don't want to take names, but there was just no choice at all. And availability was at rock bottom prices,
I
no
agree.
value really. Look at where it is at today. So
Yeah,
much interest. Which actually I wanted to ask you before we started. I,
sure.
I saw with interest you started this master of this sort of a 1 hour course on understanding wine.
Yeah.
That sounded very interesting. How is that going? What's happening with that?
So we've just launched it today, Dee, and I'm
Okay.
so excited because today is such a special day. I'll tell you, I always believe that something like this, like a pandemic crisis, sometimes what ends up happening is it kind of puts you against a wall, right? Because you feel you've reached this dead end. And it kind of gives you no scope but to sort of almost reinvent yourself, or ideas that you may have had but you've been just sitting on or not acting upon. It kind of helps you accelerate those. So to launch online education in wine and beverages has been my dream for almost 2 years now. And admittedly, I've been procrastinating it because I kept thinking, "Ha, abhi karenge," and things get busy. You sort of roll in your day to day, and you sort of put that away for another day. But this whole situation made me feel this is now inevitable. Has to be done. It's like a do or die situation. So I really just stuck my head in the sand, and me and my team, of course, no credit to me, but my team and I, we both stuck our head in the sand and said, we've got to do this. And we launched today something called 60-Minute Wine Pro, and it's a crash course in wine. I truly believe, AD, that there is a need for good world-class wine and beverage education across the country. We have big hotels and fabulous restaurants which are opening all around the country. But in these pockets, there is no access to good world class curriculum in wine and beverages. So, if somebody wanted to hire a good personnel for service of beverages, how do we train them? How do we sort of create that enhanced level of service? Because aspirational living is going up everywhere. And the other point, of course, is it needs to be affordable. If you look at any international curriculum offering wine and beverage education today, it's nothing short of 10,000 rupees for 1 day of learning. Now, those are international accreditations and they're great, nothing against them. But I really felt there was a lacuna in terms of more affordable wine and beverage education in the country. So 60-Minute Wine Pro is just basically a short but intense course, which in an hour or just over an hour makes you a bona fide wine pro. It takes you through the most relevant industry focused information about wine, service of wines, knowledge of wines, how to sell wines, how to sort of confidently convey and communicate about wines with your customers, food and wine pairing, service and storage, all aspects of wine. And you get a certificate from Sonal Holland Wine Academy. And it's priced as little as 2,200 all in.
Yeah, it's
All in.
fantastic. Yeah.
So I kind of feel that it's my way of giving back to the industry. I really just wanted to, like when I started studying, there was no means of doing this other than having to fly to London and do it. But now I just want to bring London to us. I want to bring that level of
Right.
education to our
Right.
country down to the grassroots. So
Well,
thank you for
Sonal,
asking me that
no,
question.
for sure, Sonal, for many of our restaurants, wine goes so well with our food. And
Yes,
definitely, I think part of the experience of a good bottle of wine is being able to talk to a server who understands what you're looking for, recommends wine that's been stored well, served right, etc., etc. And you're
absolutely.
right, we've always been struggling with training. In fact, I think a lot of our teams, of course, everybody is free right now. I'm going to get a lot of people to take this course. I think it'll be of huge benefit to them and to
Thank,
the restaurants as well. Yeah.
thank you, Amy. Thank you so much. That means so much.
So now I
But
want to just add, I like what you said about, we are nothing without our teams. That's fundamentally exactly how I believe as well. I've really built the Olive Group on that basic principle that our
yes,
guys are our pillars and, we got to look after them forever and ever. And that's how they'll be also motivated and have the confidence to give their best to us. And I think that's why, my group, why we've been able to grow the way we have. I think by far we have the best management team of any group in the country. And
yes.
also what I love is that when customers who've been coming for years come back, say from out of town or something, and same old server is there, recognizes them.
I
It's
know.
such a warm touch point for them.
That level of familiarity and feeling at home you can only get in restaurants like Olive and a few others. There's just a handful I can name, really, not even more than a handful. But you feel like you're home. You just, I was at Olive recently. If you remember, I sent you that little text that evening. But it's just, it always feels like going back home and feel, that familiarity and the warmth and everything, familiar faces, all of that. Um, so yeah, I mean, this is just that kind of time when any of what we're doing or what you're saying is all going to kick in once everything sort of revives,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
fundamentally the big question. And I just want to ask you a really broad question in terms of what are your sentiments right now, Eddie? What are you thinking? What's going on in your mind?
The last 2.5, 3 years have been very rough for the industry. There have been a series of different things that have happened that have shaken all of us up. Started with demonetization, quickly followed by the Supreme Court's ban on serving alcohol within 500 meters of the highway, which was completely misinterpreted across the country. And so
Yes.
entire hubs, restaurant bars were all shut down. And it took up to
It killed
six
us.
months, killed us. It was at least 6 months before the clarification came that they meant on highways, not in the city. But by then it was already very tough. And then, unfortunately, as we were sort of trying to get back on our feet, the government passed a new GST regime. Good step for sure. But unfortunately, for reasons unknown to us, they removed the key part of the GST scheme, the input tax credit, from the F&B industry.
Right.
And we've represented them, we're working with them, we're hoping that changes again. But that affects our bottom line by about 6-7%.
Mm,
And in an industry with fairly thin margins,
of
six,
course.
7% of the bottom line is
It's a lot.
huge, huge. Yeah. A lot of issues got piled up in Bangalore. And Bangalore passed a policy saying that no place serving alcohol can play music. Now that was shocking. Nowhere in the world can you have a policy like that. People go to have a drink, listen to music. You
Right.
take either one of those away, you kill that business. And you have to understand that companies like us, which are still fairly small, we invest the bit of money we have, hard-earned effort, create something according to the existing policies and rules at that time in place. You can't change them retroactively. In one fell swoop, about a few hundred, maybe 900, 1,000 bars and restaurants in Bangalore have been rendered unviable. And everybody's struggling to stay on as best as they can. We've already closed one, which is very popular, was India's first gastropub, was doing well 6-7 years later, shut it within 3-4 months. There was no choice. And a couple more are in trouble as well, and we are struggling to keep them going. And frankly, the longer this continues, hundreds of bars and restaurants will shut.
It it does seem like it is dragging now, and I don't know, AD, I'm sure you're watching some of that news too. But it seems that there is no respite in the current situation, right? Somebody asked a brilliant question, which was also on my mind. So I want to just quickly ask you, AD. When restaurants do open, and we'll talk a little bit about trends in F&B and so on, but when they open, how do you think the pricing overall will be impacted? So what I mean is, at one hand, it should be more because it's going to add to your cost of, the social distancing, reducing number of tables, maybe some extra gears, some extra equipment needed. So it may raise your cost of service. But at the other end, we need to kickstart the economy. We need to we need to we need to restore back consumer confidence. So at the same time, there's so much pressure on pricing. Do you foresee prices going up or prices going down?
The truth is that for the industry, all the steps, measures, new equipment, etc., we have to put in is raising costs for us. And secondly, the supply chain has also been greatly impacted, and therefore the costs of our ingredients will also go up, of our local ingredients. At the same time, Sonal, as you shared, the whole economy has been impacted. For people to be spending money is also not easy. So the industry feels that we cannot raise prices even though we need to. We'll bite that bullet for a while, reduce whatever little margins that there are, just want to get customers' habits back, and then, over a period of time, hoping that things will settle down. Reducing prices right now is difficult, but of course we're all tweaking menus to tap into what customers are looking for at this time. And some of those in some of my restaurants will be coming at lower price points just by nature of what the menus are.
Yeah. And in keeping with my original point about the fact that sometimes crisis can accelerate the rate of change, which was anyway inevitable in the first place, do you foresee any sort of new trends in service levels of both food as well as beverages? Something that you feel, like I sometimes wonder whether the old-fashioned guéridon service needs to come back because it kind of encourages working at the table, but yet away, right, from the consumer, or maybe service from. I have a wonderful video actually, which I wanted to share before our chat, but now I'll do it after. I'm not sure where it's been shot, but this guy is serving cognac, I think. Have you seen it? It's incredible, this video. Cognac into these glasses from this decanter, and I want to know what that decanter is. It's so long. And he's doing it from a distance, and obviously, so there are ways to do social distancing and still add glamour, still keep up with to not make it boring, not make it, because at the end of the day, when people are going to come out, they're going to come out for entertainment. They're going to come to forget about the problems. They're going to come out for the cheer. So how do you infuse that? How do you infuse enthusiasm and not keep reminding people about COVID and all the negativity that we've all been through over the past few months, right? Any thoughts on that?
So I think the little bit of irritation from having a temperature taken, and instead of having a lovely paper menu, accessing it on your phone, there's some conveniences to all that as well. I think they'll go away, and customers will be able to focus back. So long as once they walk in to see that proper space and distance is there, everybody seems to understand what's necessary, customers will be able to focus back on the experience. Obviously, I've briefed my team to make sure that experience in many fun little ways, which I don't want to share till we open, but will be there as good, if not better than before. In terms of new trends, I think what everybody's talking about, and great, certainly what's happened, is that there's been a paradigm shift for the delivery and takeaway business that was anyway growing exponentially.
Yeah.
But now with the habits of everybody from home, and of course even the work from home, which is going to become a way of life much more now, the sheer volume and potential of the delivery business is going to grow a lot. We as a company, for example, and many of us have always focused on, have worked hard on creating a great experience of dining in. Always. That's what we're good at, we build, that's what our customers.
AD, I'm tempted to ask you, what are you most looking forward to beyond this pandemic?
Firstly, I go to my restaurant, I'm very hands-on, and I'm really missing sitting there with my teams, chatting, catching up. But I think the biggest thing for me would be to get this load and responsibility off my back when my staff starts earning again. And
Yes.
that would be the biggest relief as things come back to normal.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for watching and listening in. Real joy. I see many familiar names out there. That's
Yes.
great to see. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. And a lot of them are applauding you, AD. A lot of them are congratulating you and applauding your great efforts in keeping this going. So thank you. Thank you on behalf of everybody.
Thank you, Sonal. Real
Awesome.
pleasure.
See you soon.
See you. See you soon. I'm sending you that link. Great.
All right, please. Thank you.